Welcome to the Fear and Greed Daily Interview. I'm Sean Aylmer. Sometimes it feels like we're in the golden age of the startup. Everywhere you look, there's a business giving it a go, and in some cases, really succeeding. Some of the most exciting companies are those who take old-fashioned, manual ways of operating and finding a way of making it work more efficiently in the digital age. It often means the business becomes scalable, and that's a key to growth. My guest today is Dr Benjamin Coorey, who is, in fact, an architect. Archistar, the business he founded with his brother, combines architecture software and artificial intelligence to assess the development potential of buildings and sites. It's recently completed a $6 million funding round with some seriously heavyweight investors behind it. Dr Benjamin Coorey, welcome to Fear and Greed.
Thank you, Sean. It's great to be here.
So, Ben, when you first decided you wanted to be an architect, did you ever think you'd be running a tech company?
No, I think when you're doing a university degree, you're doing your work, you don't really think that you're going to be, your job is to be a CEO. I think you kind of fall into it. And I was always interested in technology. I was always thinking outside the box. And I think you get to that point in your career, in what you're doing, where you want to make a difference, you want to do things differently. Then from that point, I just fell into the role of, I want to run this as a company. I want to explore this more. And then it grew from there. So no, I didn't really go in saying I want to be a CEO. I was more focused on what were the challenges in the industry, what was I interested in, and that kind of just evolved into, running a company.
So architecture, I think, is a really interesting sector. Certainly architecture itself is beautiful or not, but to actually become an architect, I have a nephew who's studying it, who's now doing his master's. It's a really, really challenging area to firstly actually get your credentials, but then get a job in it, because it is incredibly competitive, which is great because it means lots of great ideas bubbling to the top, I suppose. But actually being an architect's a tough gig.
It is, and you do a lot of study. So the degree, it's typically 2 degrees, it's about 5 years of study. And the reason why it's so long and there's so much to learn is that architects organize the entire industry and the ecosystem to get these buildings designed and built. So if you think about it, they're almost the organizers. They bring the engineers together, they bring the cost together, they tie everyone together from the client through to the end, and they supervise the construction. So there's a lot that you need to understand to bring all that together. So there's a lot to learn. It's a long degree, and you have to mix a whole lot of technical, creative, and business logic all together to actually come up and be able to deliver as an architect.
So that's a very good segue into Archistar and how it operates. So just tell me about it. What exactly does it do?
Yeah, so Archistar essentially tries to streamline that process. So it brings together all of the data that you need to understand what the potential of a property is. So you can pick any property in Australia, and we'll tell you what the planning codes say you can build, what's the highest and best use. But then we fuse it together with architecture technology, what we call generative design, where we can then show you what's possible, give you a 3D building that we generate automatically to show you that's what the planning rule said. These are some concept designs automatically generated of what that could look like. And that really streamlines the process, because it's not only here are the metrics, this is the data saying what it is, which a lot of property developers look at. What are those metrics? This now visualizes it and shows you what that actually means.
Wow. So if I just unpack that a little bit, obviously state planning laws and council planning laws, that must be all part of the process?
Yeah, so every state is different, every council is different. So that was a very big challenge for us. We thought that would be naively easy to pull all into one system.
Oh,
and it was
no,
not.
Wow.
And I think sometimes in business, you almost have to, if you want to innovate and you want to push forward, you almost have to be a bit naive, a bit bullish. And I could do that. That makes sense. And you kind of dive into really challenging problems. If no one does that, then you're never going to get a solution that comes out and solves that. So yeah, we started to collect it for New South Wales, and then our clients wanted it for other states, and we just bit by bit started to pull all of those planning rules together And we had to solve how to get that into a consistent format.
So once you get that into a format, you're then talking about showing people what the land could be used for. How does that process come about? Is that based on zoning and then based on previous ideas, or how do you come up with what it can be used for?
Yeah, so the zoning will tell you what's permitted. So you'll have an understanding based on the zoning what you're allowed to build. And depending on the state, it will tell you how high you can build, how much spacing you need between the buildings, how much sunlight you need. So there in Australia, we're actually very prescriptive on what you can and can't build. So what our software does is it takes those data points, it takes those rules, and then it comes up with strategies. And we program in that with programming code. We actually program building designs as strategies. So what you'll do is when you click the button to say, show me what happens, our software runs through thousands of strategies, comes up with thousands of building designs all instantly. So within 15 seconds, you'll have 100 different options for what's
Wow.
possible there, all in 3D, all analyzed.
So that could be light industrial, it could be an office block, it could be a 4-bedroom house.
Yeah, we go from houses to apartment buildings to mixed use to commercial buildings. So even large subdivision sites where you've got townhouse community estates. So it's quite diverse what we can generate out.
So do architects like you? Because you're sort of doing their job.
Yeah, well, I'm an architect and we
They love you.
yeah. My original goal was actually this was to streamline the architect's process to make them superheroes. And I did get a bit of pushback initially, but where we have taken the software is that we call it human plus AI. And what we generate, we talk about them as concepts, and these are ideas. And if you can run through 100 ideas quickly, rapidly see what's going to work, what's not going to work, that saves you a lot of time. And then what we've done is we've put in editing tools so that you can take any concept and you can refine it. And this is something that architects are great at doing. It's shaping a concept and turning it into a reality to really tailor it into the context. So for us, it's not about, going against architects. It's more how can we supercharge them, give them superpowers,
Provide them with a tool.
and provide them with tools.
Is Archistar a B2B model, or is it, I'm about to go through renovations. I think I've got my plans. I did until this particular interview, and now I'm not sure that I do.
Yeah.
But is it something that as a consumer I can go to, or is it something that my architect or designer or draftsman uses?
Yeah, we started off as B2B, so mainly working with developers, architects, engineers, real estate. But where we're seeing the market shift, especially after COVID, was we actually got a lot of interest from the home market. So we expanded the software to actually allow 3D home designs to be visualized in the platform. So soon, as a consumer, you'll be able to actually see what different home designs look like on your piece of land in 3D, and that can be all professionally cited and work exactly on your piece of land. So yeah, we're shifting over to the B2C market where consumers will now be seeing home designs running off the Archistar technology, which is really awesome. Think digital display village.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said human plus AI. Where does the AI come into it? It learns in terms of people, the particular designs that are chosen, and it learns to grow on the basis of that, or just how does the AI work?
So we're basically generating out millions of designs every year. So what we do from there is that different strategies work better on different pieces of land. So the size of the land, the complexity of the land, the shape of the land, the type of rules that are there. So we're running AI in the background to understand what are the best strategies for different types of sites, for different types of problems, so that we don't have to run so many strategies all the time. We're learning what are good strategies to apply to different situations. And we're also looking around at context. So what's being built around you? What's the height of the buildings around you? What does the context look like? So it's that combination of, it's not just design strategies, it's how does that tie into your context and how can we learn from what we've previously generated so that we can keep getting better at delivering you better outcomes.
Stay with me, Ben. We'll be back in a minute. My guest this morning is Dr Benjamin Coorey, founder and CEO of Archistar. Ben, I'm excited by this concept. It's an area which I know very little about, to be frank, but it just seems to take a lot of the effort out of it, or at least have almost, I don't like to say one-stop shop, but it kind of will make it easier if it's not just for me directly, it's certainly for my builder to do that.
Basically, the premise of it is that if you streamline a lot of these processes and you bring them up front, if you can understand what's possible, what could go wrong, what are the risks before you even purchase a piece of land, it's going to save you time, it's going to save you money, and it's going to reduce the risk. So, yeah, streamlining the whole process, bringing it forward, and giving you the information up front. It's helpful to a lot of people.
You raised $6 million recently, led by venture capital group Airtree Ventures. You've also got some pretty handy people who are now on your shareholder list. Peter Tonno, chairman of REA Group, former News Corp man, people out of CoreLogic. Why do you think they're attracted to what you're doing, Archistar, and how valuable is it having those sorts of people on your registry?
Yeah, it's been great having heavyweights in the industry invest and be on my board and be advisors to me because, my background's architecture and we're producing some pretty cool technology here, but we work in an ecosystem. And these types of investors, these types of mentors, what they bring is a whole world of other experience that I may not have been aware of. And they've got a whole lot of connections and reach into the industry that puts our product in the right space to solve more problems. So if you almost think this is what we're doing, we're going to design this problem to solve for architects, just having these types of investors on board has broadened my thinking about what is the relevance of this program, what is the relevance of this technology, and how does that fit into the wider community. And they've been great. And I think property is, it's such an important part of driving the economy that, a lot of people make their wealth off property. It touches so many different industries. So for me, it's just that appeal to how many people can this support, how many industries can this support, and how wide can this go? And our investors and our board are really supportive in driving that.
You started the business with your brother, Robert. Has it been difficult in a sense to have outsiders come in, though? I fully appreciate what you've just told me, but it's also these people putting a discipline over yourself and your brother that you probably didn't have before, and I'm sure that takes a bit of getting used to. It's a good thing, so I'm not being negative about it, but I'd imagine it is when it's your business and then these outsiders are coming in and asking you questions about it. That must be a challenge sometimes.
Yeah, it's challenging, but it's a good thing. So the working with my brother Rob and also my sister Anisi, who's a very
do you still talk to each other?
she's an amazing generative designer, so that's really good.
Oh, wow.
But I think it's about making sure that you've got your own roles and you're not clashing too much in what you do. And Rob is very strong from the business side, from marketing, from sales, from operations, and we work very well together because we're not clashing on what we do from a day-to-day basis. Bringing people in over the top to give guidance, direction, and a bit of structure into what we do, I think is really helpful. And I always look at it as if people are telling you something or they're guiding you in a direction or they're trying to teach you something, I never take anything personal. It's about where are you coming from? Why are you asking or pointing us in this direction? There's obviously a reason behind it. And I like to learn as many kind of points of view as possible. It doesn't mean that you always have to listen and action every point of view because you're going to get conflicting advice, but it's take the information in, digest it, and see what makes sense for you as a business and how to grow.
So where does Archistar end up in 5 years' time? What will it look like?
Yeah, we're moving left and right from the original problem that we solved. So, originally looking at how to generate designs, moving more into how to find and assess opportunities, moving more into government work about how do you automatically assess if a design is compliant. So streamlining it from start to finish, I think is from a product point of view, that's where we're heading, but also global markets. We're making great traction in the US and the UK and, getting a lot of interest from the Middle East, from Brazil, from a whole range of countries. So I see what we're solving here is not just something that's a problem in Australia, but it's actually a global problem. So moving left to right in the product and expanding globally is where I see things going, and it's going to be awesome.
Have you got any idea how many local councils there are in the world?
There's a lot.
There'd be millions.
There's a lot. I think you don't really have to solve for every local council. You almost solve the base platform and make it adaptable enough. And then, but yeah, there's a lot of councils that this could support.
Ben, thanks for talking to Fear and Greed.
Thank you very much.
That was Dr Benjamin Coorey, founder and CEO of Archistar. This is the Fear and Greed Daily Interview. Join me every morning for the full Fear and Greed podcast with all the business news you need to know. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your day.